And so I always used to question them, like, why is it this way? Why does it happen? You know, why does the world function the way it does? And why does religion exist? And if religion exists, why is there wars? And, you know, all these kind of questions came up. And I was just like at the age of like 14, 15. Because I was just, I don't know what is wrong with me. I was not a normal kid. I don't think so. Still don't think I'm normal. There's something messed up here, right?
I think we're all in the same boat. Bro.
Yeah. But I met this one person who actually, the reason why I'm here today is because of him. And his name, Murray, Mr. Murray is whatever. He was my English tutor. But he was also very spiritual. He's a Christian, but he also accepts Hindu religious beliefs. And he prays, meditates to the extent where he's so spiritually connected with everything around him. Having a conversation with him is just eye-opening, because some of the things he'll say to you is you know, it makes you want to think, makes you want to go like, whoa, what just happened? And during like English classes with him, you know, he'd come for 2 hours, he'd get 2 hours worth of money, but he never stayed there for 2 hours. Stayed there for 3 hours, 4 hours, until the work was completed, until I got it.
Is this in the classroom? So?
No, this was at home. After class.
Oh, after class, he'd come to your home.
Yeah, but this was a tutor like outside of school.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. I should have made it clear.
Yeah, it's all down. Yeah.
And the thing is why I was so comfortable asking about all these spiritual questions is because, you know, he used to say the like mantra, he used to pray before we started our classes, and that was really surprising to me. I didn't understand why we need to do this, so I used to ask him questions. It's like, is there God? If there's God, then why people suffer? Why does this happen? Stuff, and he had an answer for everything, and that really opened my eyes to not religion or spirituality, but to the fact that just be a good person. And to me, that's spirituality. He made me realize that it's not always about worshipping someone or something. It's about just good deeds, being a good person in society. I mean, I'm not saying anyone who does it otherwise is wrong, but it works for me. And over the period, you know, every time I visit India, it's opened my eyes even more and more, slowly but surely. I think last time I was in India, I was there for like 3 months during COVID because of family reasons.
Sure.
And the amount of things I saw there was just insane in terms of people meditating, people being able to like look within themselves. Because like, I can't speak for other religions, but like within the Hindu religion, it's quite a liberal thought. You can believe what you want to believe, and you can challenge whatever you want to challenge. That is your right. And no one actually, that's why we have a lot of fight within our community.
That's right.
Because we have different beliefs, but at the same day, we all come from like the same environment.
The same seed.
And the same messages. No matter which Hindu deity or God you believe in, is the incarnation of just one individual. And whatever path you want to follow in religion leads to the same thing. So whether you are not Hindu and some other religion, it doesn't matter. Because it means that you're just following a different path, but it will lead to the same end that it lead me. And when I accepted that, I started really looking into it a bit more.
That's really deep, man.
Yeah, because think about it, right? There's so many different ways you can reach a destination, but your way or my way is not. I can't compare the two. Your way is different to mine, but at the end of the day, our destination is the same.
Yeah, that's really interesting, man. But you touched on a few points there. The main one you said was, because I'm a Hindu as well, right? I'm practicing Hindu. And I think the best part about our religion is that we are open to exploring or to hearing what other people have or their views of different gods as well. I think what you touched on really resonated with me, where you said that it's not so much about what God you believe in, but the human that you are and being a good human and contributing to society. Because at the end of the day, when we all die, it's no surprise. These fancy cars that people are driving, houses, jobs, whatever, it's all going to go. The only person that's going to go to the grave is you, and you're going to be remembered for the good things you did in society, you know, the bad things you did in society. Like, no one's perfect, right? We've all made mistakes. And I think, yeah, that is what the core of religion is. And I think all religions, Hindu, Christian, Muslim, atheist, atheist, not religion, but like beliefs,
Yeah.
they all believe in that one thing of that, just be a good human.
That's it. And they all teach you that, right?
Mm.
You know, I don't know much about Christians and Muslims, but
Yeah.
every time you talk to any individual of any faith, if they are religious, they believe in just helping one another.
Correct. Yep.
You know?
I think we can all attest to that. For
Yeah,
sure.
there's no
Yeah.
religion in the world that actually goes, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's go have a fight.
Yeah.
That's not religion. That's just something else.
100%.
Right?
100%.
And for me, I realize that God is not somewhere that I can't reach. He's within me. He's within you. He's within the environment that I'm in. So I need to accept that.
100%.
So that's when meditation for me becomes really important. Because when I meditate, I'm actually not focused on the world around me, but I'm focused on the world inside of me. And that when I can really accept who I am and actually enjoy everything around me, that's spirituality for me. That and looking at you as the same person as me compels me to be a good person. Makes me want to do good things.
I appreciate that.
Makes me not want to judge you. Makes me not want to judge anyone else. Because the thing is, we're all on a different path.
100%. Man.
But
100%.
your path is not the bad path. Mine is not
the
the
bad
right
path.
Right?
Yeah.
Not like yeah.
It
You know
is,
what I mean?
yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
I get what you're saying, man. But like you also said that in the end we all reach the same destination.
Yeah.
In my view, I think we all go to a destination for sure, but it's not always the same. We all have our own aspirations in life and all which way we want to go.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that religion has taught me was to be humble and to be grateful for what you have. Because in my view, I feel like, I mean, we're similar ages, right? Like I'm 24, you're 25, right? We're still really young. But everyone that I speak to when I talk about my, I guess, call it accomplishments or call it things that I've done, I've always made my parents proud. That's one thing that I'll always say. And they've always said the same thing about me. But what I feel that jobs do to us is that it increases our greed.
Yeah.
And I've realized that because it really struck me when I was made redundant from my work.
Yeah.
So I was on really good money. Long story short, you know, I went to a startup cybersecurity company. Me and my co-worker, we were making more money than sort of we knew what to do with it.
Yeah.
But the thing that really got me was that I was on such a high at that time. You know, my personal life was going really well. You know, job was going really well. Other stuff I had as well was going really well. But it neglected the faith that I had to God, and I believe in Hanumanji. So that and a lot, obviously Matarani and Shivji as well. But Hanumanji is the main sort of person that I've God that I've worshipped for a long period of time. It made me neglect that because I was so focused on not only working but just maintaining that high in life, and I thought that I was on top of this world. And it was interesting because one phone call literally changed. I'd say, you know what, it changed my life in a way where I did not expect to lose my job within a day, and that's what happened. You know, I had a mortgage as well at the time, you know, and then it was just a spiraling thing that was just out of control. And one thing it made me realize was that it forced me to connect with God again, and that's what I did. And through that experience, it made me realize that as long as I'm breathing, as long as I've got, you know, food, I've got a shelter, I'm doing a lot better than other people who would actually dream to be in the same position that I'm in. I'm not going to say where because it's like I'm talking about my experience here.
Yeah.
But most people, I think what my point is that we really got to control our emotions, and that's where I think meditation plays a key role in being able to understand that. And so, yeah, I understand that, you know, you also meditate as well, which is another thing that I'm really inspired by. And I feel that regardless of, you know, your situation in life, whatever happens, if, you know, personal relationships, you know, girlfriend, family, what getting a good job. I feel like emotionally you're very centered, and you know yourself really well. That even when you do achieve great things in life, like we all do, you'll still always be humble and always be grateful for where you are.
Because I know everything's temporary. Nothing lasts, alright? You don't dictate time, time dictates you. So in reality, the only thing that you have in control is your mind and your body. And that's it. The person who can be the same in their wins and in their losses is actually the real winner.
Wow.
If you're the type of person who just like his ego inflates, wants to party because you've achieved something big, like there's nothing wrong in it. You should celebrate your wins, but if you do that only when you achieve things, and you just don't celebrate life, but you celebrate your wins because it makes you think that it makes you a better person in society, it makes you better than everyone else, and you just want to keep doing things that makes you better than everyone else. And when those things are taken away from you, you're no one. You're left with nothing. The only thing that stays with you is your mind. That's it. And if you can't make your mind strong, then I can literally take your whole life away and you will break. You'll be the easiest person to break in the world.
100%. Yeah, and dude, I agree with you 100%. And I look at people now, when I'm walking around, to study or go to uni or whatever, and I see all these people in fancy suits, which was us when we were in consulting, right? Like we were there. And then sometimes I just see and I look back and I think that when you wear a suit, sometimes people just automatically think, they're on top of the world, we've got everything under control. But when they take the suit off, that's when you really see what their true character is. And I've always historically, because I think that who you are as a person is a big influence plays on your parents, how you grew up, and also your friend circle. So I was hoping, firstly, I want to get your experience. How was your friend circle growing up, and did you sort of change, or what I like to call the drifter, because that's what I was.
What is the drifter, mate?
So it's a word that I sort of made up in my dictionary, but I'd say it's someone who has always drifted from people to people.
Yeah. That
certainly was me. So when I was in high school, for example, year 7 to year 10, I went to a bunch of different schools, right? Yeah. Because I was getting bullied, I guess, in my earlier years, probably in primary school. Yeah. And then in high school, I went to a private school. And so from year 7 to like year 8, I'd say that I still remember this, man, like it was yesterday, like, this was like good 10, 15 years ago. But I think that one thing I realised was that I've always wanted to be amongst the popular kids. Yeah. That's what happened to me in year 7. So I went to a new school, and then like I had this nickname, man, called Squishy. And I had that since primary school. I remember when I was in year 4, I was in a maths class, and this guy who I don't talk with anymore, he's like, "Oh, Squishy," and then everyone just in the class looked around like, "Oh, what are you talking about, Squishy?" And obviously my name's Rishi, and they were like, "Oh, Rishi, Squishy," and then everyone just from that moment, man, in year 4, Amaru school, man. Yeah. Everyone just like started calling me that, and then that name just sort of went on and on and on, and then I eventually went to a private school, and my personality is pretty extroverted anyway. It still is. I can't hide that away from everyone. And I think I was just so extroverted, and I told everyone to call me Squishy because I thought it was cool in year 7, right? And it picked on quite a lot. Yeah. So I was with the popular kids, if you want to call it. The ones who didn't study, they were just, always social, always thinking about social media back then. Back then, I think Facebook was what we were using. Yeah. I think it was, Facebook, and maybe the MSN. I wasn't on MSN too much, but it was, mainly Facebook.
It died out.
Stuff. Yeah, bro. Yeah, that was way back. Yeah, for real. Yeah, and even Snapchat, I think, was a thing back then.
I think. Well, I was in high school, 2016. Yeah, Snapchat was in my final 2-3 years.
Yeah, final 2. That was probably later on. That's right. Yeah. So earlier on, it was mainly Facey, and there was this other. Anyway, so there was this other thing called Ask FM as well, which is like you ask anonymous questions. Sorry, it's all coming, bro. It's all coming back. Yeah, it was all
Yeah.
coming back to me, man. And we did this stupid thing, man, like where I was more invested into social media than I was to actually learn.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I realized now when I look back, that my parents put in a lot of money, a lot of time into paying for these education fees, which weren't cheap by no means. And what happened to me was, so long story short, year 7 and year 8, I was in that sort of whirlwind of being the popular kid. And I was really, really up there. Everyone knew me, everyone loved me. And I was, again, it felt like I was Justin Bieber at the time in high school. That's just how I describe it. But one thing that I realized was that at the end of, at the end of year 8, I think it was, I started like just noticing that people were drifting away from me. And I noticed that the people that I was hanging out with, they weren't hanging out with me anymore. And that really cut me deep because I'm like, shit, like, you know, what's happening? What's going on? And then I found out at the time that, you know, people were just sort of saying rumors that, oh, Rishi's this, Rishi's that, Squishy's this, Squishy's that. That really, like, had a big, deep effect on me, man. And, like, so that was at the end of probably, I'd say, year 8. And then end of year 7, sorry. Year 8, I literally had no friends for 6 months. I was just at school, you know, like, I wasn't even studying too much, to be honest. I just wasn't in the right headspace at all. And then at the end of, start of year, halfway through year 8, year 9, I met this other group, which were like the nerds, bro. Like, they were like the nerdiest nerds. And if you know me back then, it's like, I would never hang out with these people back then. But then I just sort of hung out with one person. And I'll probably get him on the pod later. He's still a really good friend of mine. We're still best mates. And he sort of just, not took me under his wing, but he just sort of introduced me to his friends because he saw that I was sort of getting a little bit picked on by other people and all that. And then I just hung out with those, like, that group in general. And they were quite smart, you know, they were studious. And then I spent year 9 and year 10 with them. And what that taught me was that my whole perception of sort of, call it life, call it education, sort of changed because I saw these guys did not care what other people thought of them, or they only cared about a small group of people that were very, very influential in their life. And I hung out with those group, and I'd be honest with you, so from high school, man, through year 7 to year 10, I only keep in contact with, and they're like, when I say friends, I talk about people that I can trust with my life, and I only keep in contact with about 6 or 7 people in Canberra. There is 2 people that are outside of Canberra. One of them was in high school, he moved out, and then the other one I met at the gym. But yeah, so 5 or 6 people from high school I keep in contact with, and they're my brothers. So like you, man, anyone that like I always connect with, I'll treat them as a brother.
I really appreciate that.
And yeah, so they got me through that high school period, especially in the later years when I was trying to figure out myself, I guess, or trying to find my feet. And then year 11 and 12, I changed colleges again, man. Year 11, I wouldn't say I was partying or doing drugs or anything like that, but I was just not involved in school, man. And then, like, you know, changed colleges because my parents thought that I wasn't studying. I went to a different college and I met a really good group of people there, and I'm still, you know, close friends with some of them as well. And that was sort of it. So I was a drifter, man. I went from like the popular kids to the nerdy kids to like the, you know, just the different types of people.
I don't think that's drifter, bro. I think that's someone who got challenged and made a decision. Because, I don't know, if you really drifter, I don't think we'd be saying you're committing to this.
True. Interesting.
I think when bad things happen in your life, you just sort of realize that, alright, where do I go from here? Instead of just sitting there and sulking like, oh, why does this happen to me? And, oh, I hate that guy, I'm going to spread a rumor about him and do the same thing, you know, like eye for an eye kind of thing. But, like, I really believe every bad thing that happens in your life, it happens because it's going to lead you to somewhere better. I don't know where I read this, but there was this poem that I was reading back in, like, probably 2016, 17. It really hit me, it stuck with me till now. It was about how when you're crying, happiness is sleeping right beside you. It's just asleep. And the more you cry, that's the equivalent of how much happiness you have in you. Wow. It's just lying there, waiting for sleep to get tired and go to sleep so you can be happy again. It's a process. You have to go through it. And I feel like every bad thing that happens in your life, that's part of the process. because you can't have good things if you don't have bad things.
100%.
So, you know, you being made redundant, or, you know, your friend groups, and you be changing things and your mindset. The reason why we're able to sit here and actually have a conversation, and you being able to understand and ask the questions that you're asking, I think it's because your life has made you the way that is, and you're happy with it, and that's what matters.
100%, mate.
And the people who stick by you, they're real.
That's
That's
what
what
it is, man. 100%.
Yeah.
And I think, as I said, one thing you do realize is as you get older is, the real people that stick by you are the ones that have seen you at your worst state and will
Yes.
still be there for you.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful, man. I've got such a great group of friends.
Yeah.
I'm pretty private with them. You know, I don't obviously I'm pretty private in the sense that I'll discuss everything with them, but outside of that circle, I wouldn't say anything. Like, it would just I wouldn't say superficially, but it would just be, hi, how you going? That sort of a vibe.
But doesn't it make you think, like, you know, you're blessed with a good group of friends, and I'm sure other people are as well, but like, what about those people who aren't? Right? It makes me really wonder sometimes, because I sometimes sit there and I think, like, you know, I'm grateful for the people I have in my life, but what about those people who don't have anyone?
100%. That's
I
really
don't know,
point.
that's something that I've been thinking a lot lately. It's
Really?
it's like,
yeah.
how do those people deal with things? How do they keep going in life?
And especially, not only that,
Yeah.
but if you move to like a different state and you don't have anyone that you can
Yeah.
hang out with, how do you cope through that as
Yes, yeah.
well? And I think, you know, I wouldn't say I was in that same situation. I'd say I was close to that, having no friends at the point in time. But yeah, man, it's tough. And
I think it paves the way for your future, doesn't it?
it does, man,
Because
because
you become the person that is able to connect with that future individual that you're going to meet, or friend you're going to make.
100%.
Because
100%.
I'm sure when you're down and out and there's no one around you, that's when you really realize who you are.
100%.
Because your happiness, you're able to deal with problems, you're dependent on your friends to provide that emotional validation.
100%.
But if you're able to do it independently, then those friendships, while necessary and important, you become a self-sufficient person. And I think every single individual in this world is trying in some way or manner to get this financial freedom and have this easy life. But financial freedom, what does that mean? It means that you're monetarily self-sufficient. But if I take that away from you, you're still not. So become self-sufficient, like, through your body, through your mind, and then everything else will just follow.
I agree, man. And I think getting to that level of, call it spirituality, call it fulfillment, call it success, is very hard.
Yeah.
Because it's a process, as you said. Everything in life, man, is a process.
Yeah.
You go through experiences, you realize that I didn't do this thing right, I want to do this thing right. If you look at the greatest leaders out there, man, and I'm not talking about CEOs or like big businessmen, I'm talking about true leaders, which can be your manager that you worked at some point in life. That's
exactly
what I think
right.
what true leader is for me. If you look at those people and the characteristics they all had, and this is sort of going to dive into my next topic, which is leadership and how to inspire someone. They always have one thing in common, and that is they will go the extra mile to help someone that they truly care about. And you can't get that from business executives, high-level CEOs. You just get that from the person.
Yeah.
And so I'm keen to hear, man, have you had anyone, and you did touch on your teacher, Mr. Murray, I think his name was, who was having that trait. But did you, I guess, recently experience anyone like that sort of mindset?
I think there's an individual. I'm not sure if I'm like if you'd be comfortable with me saying the name.
That's all right. Don't need to say. Yeah.
I think there was this particular director of the firm that I interviewed for, but then I eventually ended up choosing to do masters.
Sure.
Because I was like,
this is what you want to do.
This is what I want to do. And while I was like, I'm still open for part-time roles, he said, well, I can't offer you that. I can offer you help. I can send your name to other firms that I know the partners of. And I was like, dude, I interviewed for you,
Wow.
And he's like, no, bro, send your resume out to other people. I really like you. I think you're going to do great things. And I was like, what the hell? That bamboozled me. I was like, yo,
that's bamboozling me.
I was like,
yeah, for real.
Why are you doing that? But then, at the end of that conversation, I said to him, even if I get an offer from another firm, I don't want to take it. I want to work with you.
Wow.
And he was just like, dude, thanks, that means a lot. And I was like, no, genuinely.
I'm not just saying that.
Because no one does that.
No,
I interviewed for you couldn't give me that part-time that I was looking
for. And you
for.
said, I know other people. If
It's
you're
like,
okay, let me join.
And I didn't ask for help. I didn't ask for anything. I was just being myself, and I was like, dude, I just want to be honest with you, dude. I don't want to waste your time.
And that's what people look for, man.
Yeah.
Honesty. In my line of work in cybersecurity, the three things that we oblige by whenever we're doing work, regardless of which area it is the CIA triad. Now, I know people listening at home who work in cyber, they're just going to get triggered by that because it's the basis of what we do.
Yeah.
But that stands for confidentiality, availability, and integrity.
Right.
And in all the work that we do, if you possess these traits, not so much in confidentiality. Like confidentiality, it's important. Yeah, you've got to keep information private, secure, away from people who don't need access to that. Yeah. But from a character perspective, integrity is the critical element of a human being. Yeah. If you have integrity in your work and you are honest with your work, you will certainly go places where you never thought was possible. Yeah. And I think for me, that's what I've learned, man. I've worked with people that, quite frankly, shouldn't be in the positions which they are because they don't possess the ability to work in that specific position. And I've also met another person, and I'm not going to say his name, but I'm still a close friend with him. I worked with him previously. He is one of those people that I will always ask for advice when I need it. And he is one of those people that he will do the work, but he'll never take the credit for it. Yeah. He'll go into the office, you won't even notice him there, and he'll go out, and then he'll go back in and he'll go out. Yeah. And what that tells me is that from a characteristic point of view, you have to truly love what you do in order to get that fulfillment. Yeah. I think a lot of people, they want to work for anywhere for a firm that would go for the stereotypical route of get a degree, get a job. In consulting, it tends to be for people with backgrounds in law, economics, business, commerce, whatever, such as what I went through. Did a degree in commerce, worked at a consulting firm, which I really enjoyed and I really loved. And I still work in consulting, not so much business and banking, but cybersecurity now. Yeah. And one thing that I've realized is that people who tend to love what they do, as I said earlier, they will always shine no matter what. Yeah. But you can easily differentiate the people who are just there paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. And I think that's the world we live in now. Yeah. And and I get it at the same time, everyone needs a job, and the cliche saying, follow your passion, follow your passion. It's actually very hard in all reality, because how can you, if your passion, for example, is acting, and that's something I do, part-time actor, every now and then I get a couple of gigs here and there. Yeah. If you're paying rent, you can't just rely on being an actor. You're just hoping for that one big gig so that you can be quote unquote financially free, or whatever you want to call it. But it's hard because you need to get some sort of income. And I think what I realize and what I look back on now, I know I'm sounding like I'm 40 or 50, but as I said, I think it's good. For me, it's I was listening to this podcast as well, man. His name's Stephen Barnett or Bartlett, I think, The Diary of a CEO. Okay. He's very, very popular. You might have heard of him, you might not have heard of him. And one of the things he says to young people, and young people he's saying, I guess, ages 18 to in your 20s pretty much, any person in their 20s, is in order to be successful, you need to focus on not what you truly want, but focus on doing as many things as possible in your 20s, and pick out of those things that you've done in your late 20s, focus on one thing that you absolutely love. And that really resonated with me, man. And that's sort of, I guess, another inspiration of why I started this podcast. And I didn't probably say this earlier, but I appreciated you when we went for that dinner 2 weeks ago. That you were saying, Rishi, I really love, your inspiring stories sometimes about your personal experiences. Why don't you make this into a podcast or something official? And I sat on that thought for a day, and I also saw that video. That was later on when I've already started the podcast. But then I realized that if I can sort of help other people get through an experience or something that I've been through, that you've been through, that future people have been through, that'll be on this podcast, it will provide them satisfaction and it will provide them happiness.
Yeah.
So I do really resonate, man, when you do talk a lot about the things relating to passion, drive, and character as well.
I mean, not everyone has that mindset, and that's okay too, is what I want to say out of all of that. Because there's a lot of people out there that don't want, the big life. They're happy with what they have. There's nothing wrong with that. If anything, I envy that.
I envy that too as well, man. 100%.
I envy the people who actually enjoy just like being
That's
comfortable.
a real talk. Yeah.
Because it just shows that, dude, they're comfortable in their skin.
100%.
They're comfortable, but also, I sometimes think like, will they be okay if change comes around? Right?
Yeah.
How will they handle that? But then again, that's just me contemplating and being curious.
100%. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's just my, I guess, I don't even know if that's intrusive thoughts or
No,
not.
that's
just
good,
me,
man.
like, constantly
You're always
like,
thinking. That's
what if this,
what
what
if,
if that?
yeah,
Right? But I think, just try everything in your life. There's no right thing that you're gonna decide on. That's what you're gonna do for the rest of your life. I think do what you're doing now and think to yourself: is this sustainable? Can my body take this for how long? Can my mind take this for how long? And I guess make a strategical decision then.
100%.
How long do you think maximum you can go? Do it and then do it. And if you know what your next step is, don't wait around. Do something about it.
100%.
Use your time well.
100%.
Right? Something we're blessed with is time. So use it well. I mean, there's the tendency of like enjoying yourself, watching Netflix, doing all that. There's nothing wrong in that, but don't let it consume your life. Don't let it define you as a person. Because again, all these things can be taken away from you.
100%.
And what are you?
What are you? 100%. Yeah. That's
bro. I got
that's
real, bro.
I know. It gets
Yeah.
real, bro, real quick. That's for sure, man. And that's exactly why I want to ask these questions, man. Is to really dive down, because the biggest point of this podcast, man, is that I'm not here to preach people you should do that, you should do this, or get subscribers or anything like that. I'm really here to understand what people's thoughts about their experiences in life.
I think that's beautiful because you're doing it for yourself.
100%.
You're not doing it from outside validation, popularity, none of that shit. You're doing it because you're like, dude, you know what? I've gone through a bad phase. Let me try to understand other people and see what I can do.
100%. That's exactly right.
I don't know. That just resonates with me.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it. And that's what the premise is, man. And you did touch about time, and I think that's a very important topic, because time is one of those things, in my opinion, that everyone has the same amount. I mean, it's no spread. Everyone has the same amount of 24 hours in the day, right? And when people tell me, "Oh, I'm too busy to do something. I just don't have enough time, man." Like, "Oh, I'm working late extra hours." That sort of triggers me a little bit, because I get it if you're not if I know you and I'm not that close to you, I get it. If I'm having a coffee with someone and they're like, "Oh, I'm busy," I'm like, fair enough, that's all good. But I feel like it's a big excuse a lot of people make when they say, "I don't have enough time." Because for me, if I was talking to my friends, and as I said, friends, my definition is, people that I keep really close.
Yeah.
I don't care what I'm doing. I will make time for them if they need me.
Yes.
And I think that is a very important element. Because I'll tell you a little bit of a story, man. And I'm going to keep this names and all that confidential.
Yeah.
But a very close friend of mine, he was going through a really bad phase in life. And to be honest, quite a lot worse than what I went through with the jobs and all that.
Yeah.
And I don't. He's a very private person as well, but he's one of the smartest people I've ever known, and he's our age.
Yeah.
And the thing is when people see him, they'll just think "Oh, he's just a regular Joe," because that's how he presents himself. And he was going through a really hard time. Again, I'm not going to say what it was, but it was just the fact that I was there and I was just listening. I wasn't giving any advice. I was just listening to what he was saying. And then after that experience, and then after me listening to that, I'm just trying to remember, I didn't provide him. I said some strategies to him, how to cope with it, but it wasn't anything detailed.
Yeah.
And then eventually, as time went on, I was still in contact with him, checking up on him every day. And man, this still gets shivers up my spine. He went through that experience, and he's all he came out of it really good. And he's like, "Man," and he said to me, "Rishi, you've changed my life." he said that to me,
Yeah.
and then like once he said that to me, I realized that out of everything I've accomplished, man, out of all the stuff, you know, out of everything, that when people like when I hear those sort of words from people that I've influenced them in any shape, way, or form, that's what brings me true.
Yes. Yeah, same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm like, dude, that was some real
Yeah.
real stuff, man. Like, you know, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like, and there was another instance where a friend of mine who works in cybersecurity as well. He works at his sort of, call it dream firm or call it the place he wanted to really work for. I got into that firm essentially before he did, and he really wanted to get into that firm, but he did like an interview with that and he got rejected.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he's like, "Oh, Rishi, man, like, you know, I know you're there. It's really good. I heard really good stuff about it. It's, you know, and it's all good. Can you please help me get it?" I'm like, brother, we've worked together at a previous firm.
Yeah.
We were working so well together. 100%. Don't even question that. All I did was, I kid you not, I'm not taking credit for this in any way, but all I did was that I helped him get an interview because I just sent his resume through and I said, "Look, I've worked with him. He's a really good worker. This and that." He did the interview and he got the job. And he's literally like to me, "Rishi, if it wasn't for you, you changed my life, man. This is where I want to work. This is what I want to do."
Yeah.
And I told him I didn't do anything. Like, I genuinely didn't do anything. All I said was I told the person or the recruiter the work you've done, which was true. I didn't make any of that up because I've seen your work and I've seen your output and it's really good. And so, again, when just hearing that back, man, it's like, it just really resonates with me when I have an influence over other people in a good way, obviously. And yeah, that for me, man, it's just like, and I always try to help people. The biggest thing for me is like, if I see people doing well in life that I know, I'm not the jealous type, man. That's just one. And I think that's a very good quality that I have, and I think a lot of other people do have, but I feel a lot of people don't have that as well. You know, especially, you know, a lot of, I'm sure you know a lot of people, man, you know, and I do as well, like, you know, people that will do well in life that you know, you'll, you know, I know people, I can name like so many that's around my circle, that if they see someone do well, they start competing and they're like, "Oh, I got to do better than them." "Oh, you bought a house, damn, I got to buy a house." You know, that sort of mentality, and that's really wrong in my opinion, and I'm sure you agree as well.
No, dude. I mean, but at the same time, I just let it be.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, yeah. Dude, honestly, if my success makes you jealous and makes you want to do better, win-win.
100%. Yeah.
we all move
above. Somewhere or another, man, we're all going up.
I mean, it's not a good emotion because it impacts you in a lot of bad ways.
Yeah.
In different aspects of your life.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, because the thing is, you can't control other people, and it's not a pleasant emotion to be around as well.
100%.
It comes out in like different ways and forms, and you're just like, what's going on?
Oh, for real, bro.
Yeah,
for real, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
And I think, you know, you helping people, I think it's your sense of belief in other people that those people are able to like go, "Rishi, you changed my life."
Mm-hmm.
I think when you help someone, you're essentially believing in them because they don't believe in themselves.
100%.
And by you just doing this little tiny thing where it's like, "Dude, I trust you, man. You can do a lot more than this." Just those words can mean the world
100%, man.
to someone who feels like they have nothing in them.
100%. For sure.
I can tell you, there's been so many moments in my life where I've just sat down in my room and I've gone, "Holy shit, I'm nothing."
I have as well, man.
And it's a horrible feeling, but then, you know, you think about it, you just get up and
move on.
But it's hard to move on, but then you need people to
support.
Yeah, the people that are like, or someone, or just that one individual, or something in your life that makes you feel like, "I'm good at this," you know.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm good at something. You know, I'm not good at nothing.
Yeah, I have a. It's funny you say that because I have a saying in my room, and I've had this like, I don't have a lot of artwork in my room. It's really but there's this 2 sayings that I've got in my room. It's literally a piece of paper cut out that I've had for 4 years, and it says, I look at it every time like I'm in a demo, and it says, "The struggle you're in today is developing the strength you need for tomorrow."
Oh yeah, bro.
And I go to sleep sometimes I'm in that sort of mood as you said down. I look at that and I'm just like, damn, like, you know, tomorrow's gonna come. It's gonna be a better day. Yeah. And I think that's really true, man. In our lives, you know, we go through bad situations, we go through bad times, but then we wake up, and then things will get better over time. And you just got to remember, as you said, everything is temporary. I
Yeah.
think that's a very, very powerful saying because it's true.
Yeah.
If you look at everything,
Yeah.
the good times will pass, the bad times will pass.
Yeah.
It's all relative, right?
That's the thing. In the moment, you don't feel that way.
That's right.
You feel like it's gonna last.
That's right.
I think when you lose something that's so valuable and close to you, then you realize that everything's temporary.
100%.
When you, like, for example, if you have a really, really good friend that you're no longer friends with, that's when you realize everything's temporary. Because when you're out with your friends, you're out with your mum and dad, and you know maybe you've lost a close family member or something. That's when you realize everything is temporary. In life, when we're growing up, everything feels good, planned, and in control, because we're all part of the same jigsaw puzzle, which was high school.
100%.
We dressed the same, we thought the same, we ate the same, we studied the same thing. There was hardly any difference between us. So it was easy to compete. As soon as you let out into this world, you think you have control over everything. Because you had control over everything when you were in high school. You didn't have to worry about anything.
100%.
And that type of control, when it's taken away from you, or the belief that you have that type of control when it's taken away from you, it can really mess you up.
For sure.
You start doing, you know, excessive amount of alcohol, drugs, whatever it is that helps you get through things. But you're really destroying your body. I mean, look, I'm not going to say what's right or what's wrong. I'm not an expert in, like, any of these topics. But from my experiences, I just feel like you need to treat yourself right. And I think you only realize that once you've treated yourself bad. That's it.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I feel that you're right in a way that for me it's all about experiences.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is just sort of tying to what you said about, you know, treating your body right to get yourself right. If I haven't been through a bad experience or like whatever that is, I wouldn't know what to do. I could have all the people, everyone tell me, this is how you do things, Rishi, don't do this, do this. But if I haven't been through like a tough, I need to be in that situation to get out of it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm grateful that like I haven't been sort of, I guess, in those situations.
Yeah.
I've had my bad experiences in my own ways with, you know, my, you know, just personal life, relationships as well over time. But yeah, as I do resonate with that, and I do think that like you really gotta look out for yourself and really gotta make sure that you stay true to yourself,
Yeah.
and you also make sure that you know you have a good support network.
That's it. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Damn.
Even if you don't have that support network,
Yeah.
be the support network.
Yeah, be the support network, 100%.
Be that for yourself.
Be that for yourself.
It's tough.
It's hard, man. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard for
But
sure.
once you can be, bro,
Nothing can stop you, man. I feel I'm getting to that level
Yeah.
now, man. I'll be honest with you, man, and I
Yeah.
think like it's crazy because the thing that everyone says about me is that once Rishi sets his mind to something, like he'll just try his best to get there. I won't always get there, but he will try his best to get there.
Any direction is the right.
Is the right direction.
Just
That's
keep
it, man.
going,
Yeah,
just
for
keep
real.
going.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that like I sort of do sort of, I guess I'm happy with that about myself. And I guess the final topic that we could talk on for ages, man. But
It's just the tip of the
this
iceberg.
is the tip of the iceberg, bro. 100%. It's so great just talking to you, man.
Yeah,
Openly as
same,
well,
man.
bro.
This
For real.
feels really nice. It
Yeah.
just feels cool.
Yeah. I guess one thing, and if you don't feel comfortable touching on it, you don't need to. Is relationships, and what I mean by that is not just it's not just girlfriends,
Yeah.
or boyfriends.
Yeah.
It's more with your family and also extending out to relationships with partners, ex-partners.
Yeah.
How have you found the experience? I guess if you are in a relationship,
Yeah.
how has that helped you, or has not really helped you get through life?
Man, that's a tough one.
Mm.
I don't know. Like, I think relationships are monumental in your life. Every relationship in your life that you are part of, I think you need to have an open mind. Because the thing is, if you just go into a relationship thinking that you know everything, you're right, or this is how it should be, then that relationship will never be a relationship in the first place. That'll just be an acquaintance, right? I think relationship is built on two things. That's love and trust. If you don't trust a person, you can never truly open up. You can never truly be there for them, neither can they be there for you. If you can't feel like you can trust them, or they can't feel like they can trust you, things become difficult, right? And that's what's essential. Love, for me, in this sense, is something where what you do when you just let them be free, right? I think Buddha said this the best, where, you know, if you love a flower, don't take it out of the ground because you'll kill it. And it won't be something that you loved anymore. It will just be something else.
Sure.
So for me, it's like, give that person that freedom. Let them be the person they are. Don't take that away from them. Because as soon as you start putting boundaries around the person that you think you love them, or you say that you love them, you care about them, that's attachment. Love is not attachment. Love is when you can feel free to be yourself around the other person. You feel comfortable being yourself. And that goes for every single relationship, whether it be your friends, whether it be family, anyone.
That's deep, man.
And I think that's why people say you need to draw boundaries with people. It's like, yeah, you do need to draw boundaries. I think it's a healthy way to tell other people, like, hey, look, you're crossing the line, and it's actually forcing me to be something that I'm not, and I'm not comfortable with this. And that's what I understand about boundaries anyway. I'm not an expert, but
yeah, interesting, man. I 100% agree with that. I think that's really deep as well.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I think relationships, you said they're built on trust and love, and I think that is 100% true. But I do believe that it's hard. I think that love is one of those things where you lose logic when you think about it.
Oh, 100%.
And
makes
like,
you want to do dumb shit.
I mean, yeah, for real, bro, 100%. And it's like, for me, it's like I've realized that as well. Like, you know, you gotta understand that if you want to be with a person, it's not just about the honeymoon phase or like the first couple of months. And I'm talking more about a partner. You really gotta. I think you really, and this is gonna sound cliche as hell, but you gotta find yourself, you know, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And even if you are with a person, and even if you are married, man, to be honest, like the biggest thing is you can't lose yourself or who you are because of someone else.
Yes.
And I think that is what love is. And just, yeah, long story short, man, I think it's exactly what you said. You got to trust that person. You got to be yourself in front of them and not change who you are.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's very hard to come by with a lot of, and I think the only way you can build a relationship that is trustworthy, you'll be happy for the rest of your lives, is time. You have to spend time with the person, man.
And you know, during that time, you're going to face a lot of challenges. 100%. You're going to face ups and downs. But that's part of a relationship. That doesn't 100%. Mean that they're not. Because the thing is, dude, I hate this idea of soulmates.
Yeah. I
just think it's bullshit.
Yeah, man, I'm for
real. Be real.
Yeah,
I think these movies have made it so nice feeling and amazing because they have background music, dances, everything.
Yeah, bro, for real. Yeah, yeah.
But when you have to worry about your family and then worry about your relationship with someone else and your friends as well,
and work and jobs or whatever,
dude. How is that sustainable?
100%.
So you gotta find yourself first, be comfortable with who you are, then go out and give that love to someone. 100%. You can't take love, you have to give love. 100%. And it's like a two-way lane. And you need to be willing to compromise. You need to be willing to have an open mind. You need to be willing to listen, understand. Because how do you build trust? You build trust through understanding, through communication. Those are the factors that really matter. And if the person, and the thing is, like, there's so many different phases in life. In a relationship, you go through the honeymoon phase, then there's like the ups and downs, and then a lot of fights, and then it's the happily ever after.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can skip all the middle part. This is my opinion. I feel you can skip all the middle part if you stop trying to control the other person. Thing is, over time in long-term relationships, you end up just your love decreases but your control increases because you're so attached to the person, you expect things from them, and so just expectations raise, and because of expectations you think that's love.
That's that's really interesting, man.
And then you're forced to do things
that you don't necessarily can control.
Yeah,
that's deep, man.
And and also, like, it makes you not want to push yourself further.
100%.
Because you're tied to those expectations.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's where relationships sometimes break.
Yeah, Sure.
because you're like, dude, I can't handle these expectations anymore. I just want to be free.
100%.
Every single person on this planet was born to be free, and they want to be free. No one wants to feel like they're tied down.
And I don't like, I mean, I use it sometimes, you know, because, like...
Oh, sorry, but that doesn't mean to say that you go around, like, doing things.
Oh, doing things.
Yeah.
I mean,
like, loyal.
Being loyal, but
let me just say that.
but at the same time, I don't judge people who do that, though, as well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't judge people who, if they want to party, you know, they want to go clubbing, you know, they want to call it, you know, go around, you know, sleeping with girls, you know, and all that sort of stuff. That's good if they want to do that. But again, that's not who I am, and I'm sure, and I feel like that's not who you are as well, man. So for me, it's like, relationships come with time, and the other thing is you got to be a little bit selfless.
Yeah.
Because I think that's another thing, man. Like because once relationships get real, man, like, you know, it comes into the fact that you're not thinking about one person, you're thinking about two people.
Yeah, dude, I don't know, like, it's so difficult. That topic is so easy, but so difficult.
It's so, like,
the thoughts I have right now are just based on my experiences now, but I don't know, man. I know for a fact 5 years down the line they're gonna change.
100%, man. That's it,
and
that's the beauty of life.
Oh yeah, that's what you look forward to, right?
Yeah,
it's always a lesson.
Like, that's the beauty of life.
I can't definitively say, like, this is it, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
It's not,
Every situation is
It's
different,
man, 100%.
But you know what? It's good to always think about it.
100%.
I think it's always good to constantly reevaluate these topics in your mind.
Yeah.
Because the love that you grew up with your parents in your childhood is not the same love that you will get in the future.
100%, man.
So be open to things.
100%.
Question things, you know.
And 100%. And I'm really grateful that one other thing is, and I guess, you know, we're running out of time here a little bit, but one thing I want to quickly touch on is culture and how, I mean, we're both Indian, right? We both come from an Indian background. One thing that I've never done is that I've never tried to be, like, obviously I've lived in Australia all my life, like most of my life, a little bit in New Zealand as well, but I've never actually lived in India, right? But one thing that I've never done is I've never tried to be whitewashed, as they claim it, or be too Australian, or just pretend that I'm not Indian, right? Like I'm not a brown guy, you know. Like I'm
just accepting your heritage. Everything.
That's right, and I think that is very important, that you can't lose what your true culture is, man.
Yeah.
And I'm just keen to see your thoughts about that.
That is, dude, that you've the hits are marking me, honestly. That question, because the thing is, when I grew up, and you know, being in India made me feel really, because in India it's like, when you go to school, first thing they do in the assembly is, you know, you sing the national anthem, and then, you know, all the things you do here as well. And then I moved to Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi made me question about, why do people hate Indians? Why do they hate our religion? Why do they hate me? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Then I went to Australia, same questions, you know, in the early years. And it made me feel ashamed of my culture. Because thing is, when I think India is still a developing country, and the culture is really deep. It's one of the most ancient cultures in the world, and I don't think I don't know. I don't have much knowledge in the area, but I know it's the most ancient culture.
Yeah, I think Sanskrit is the oldest language.
It's the oldest language. Yeah, and it's still spoken in India.
Correct.
Like, not actively. Hindi is the spoken language, but Sanskrit is something that, you know, when you can commit to, you can learn, and you can actually understand.
Over time,
right. But when I grew up, man, I felt really ashamed, because the people I was around, like the Australian community in the beginning, it was difficult, dude. They would make fun of, like, the gods you believe in, and all that. Like, Simpsons would have, you know, Ganesh as like a comical thing.
Yeah.
The Apu character.
Yeah.
Well, people found that funny, and they were like, but that's cool, dude, your Indians are being represented through them. It's like, yeah, but like,
that's not the correct representation.
That's not who I am.
100%. Yeah.
When Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister, like, I don't care that he's brown or Indian. He's the British Prime Minister.
Sure. Yeah.
But when I saw him on the first day wearing the same thing as me.
Oh, the rockery, 100%.
Dude, there was a moment of just joy in me, thinking that, shit, I'm normal.
That's crazy, man.
I'm normal now.
Yeah.
Everyone can finally understand why we do this and where we're doing it.
Yeah.
Thing is, dude, you will never see, like, the media or anyone making fun of Christians, Muslims, Jews, nothing. Well, why is the Indian culture something that's so comical to everyone? I just feel like it's ignorance.
I feel like it's ignorance, but at the same time, I feel like we do it to ourselves as well. And what I mean by that is, India's the largest. It has the largest population in the world now. I think it surpassed China.
Yeah.
And because there's so many people, once people in India get exposed to the Western world, they change who they are. And you know why they change who they are? Because of money. That's just what I think. And because everything is becoming so commoditized these days, sports, religion as well. You know, Indians the priests, or we call them like rishi munis, right?
Yeah.
The real ones, they genuinely like pray for what they believe in. But there's so many phonies out there, man, like in India, that pretend that they're priests and get everyone to pay them money when they're just scamming.
Bro, that's everywhere.
That's everywhere though.
That's in every religion.
That's true,
right?
yeah. But
also, I feel it's not because of money that they've changed. Money just exposed them. Money doesn't change you; it just exposes you.
I think it does, man.
Because it just makes you feel confident in being whatever that is.
Yeah.
Right? Because even if you didn't have money, you won't show your true character. But as soon as you have money, you're like, no one can touch me.
That's right.
I can say and get away with anything.
Yeah.
And dude, that's bad, right?
So how doesn't that change you?
Well, it just exposes you. It brings out the true nature of who you really are.
Sure. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like look at Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Richest person, one of the richest people in the world. He spends majority of the time like donating, doing things like that. He doesn't need to do that.
No.
Right? But he chooses to.
100%.
Money didn't. He has so much money that he's gone out and he's like trying to influence.
Trying to give it back. Yeah.
Trying to give it back.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, but like, do you think everyone would be willing to do that?
Not 100%.
You know, they'll be willing to create a wealthy generation.
Yeah. Passing
that money on to the children passing it on to their children. I just feel like it just, money either makes you want to grow, or makes you want to stay where you are because first of all, what you're doing actually works. So you get hot money. So you're like, you know what? I'm the top shit.
100%.
I'm the best. Nothing can touch me. But then that also becomes the reason of your downfall.
100%.
Because of your arrogance.
100%.
But if you want to change, that's you doing it. That's not money. Money's material. You've given it value.
Given it 100%.
Right? And it's not a bad thing. I think money is an important factor in your life. But yeah. But yeah, if they think in terms of culture, like, I don't know, man. Defining India in like just one or two sentences is not possible.
No, it's not, man.
Because there's billions of people, hundreds of religions, beliefs, cultures, thoughts, schools of thoughts.
100%.
That I think if I attempt to do anything, I'm like, I'd rather not.
Yeah, you'd rather just stay away.
Because the people who are like, who are like the rishi munis and all that, they're still trying to figure it out. It's been thousands and thousands of years and they're still doing it. So if they're not able to do it, what is a guy who's only lived 25 years going to make a difference?
Sure.
So instead, I'm just going to take information, learn about it, accept it, and do the best I can in my life.
And that's a fair assessment, man.
Yeah.
I agree with that. The point I was really making, and we'll wrap up shortly, is the fact is that the Indian portrayal in the media has been quite poor from the fact that I feel like Indians let themselves down in a way that they choose to be portrayed for that in order for them to make money. And I'll give you an example. Slumdog Millionaire, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's one of the worst movies that portrays India.
Yeah.
For sure. But yet, it did so successful in the box office. Now, the actors in that movie and the actresses, I'm sure they didn't really... I don't know if they really cared about the message or whatever, but they saw how much money they made on that whole production crew, and they're like, damn, this is good, this is lit, we're gonna run with this. Those sort of examples, I think, is what brings the downfall of Indian, call it, not culture, but call it Indian... Indian history, or call it Indian modern Indian culture if you want, and that I think is what brings the downfall of why Indians are portrayed a little bit negatively to the outside world.
I think now it's changing, and I think it's all about leadership. I think in the past many years when they had Congress, as the political party that was the leaders, there was this, agenda where it's like we need to be accepting and we need to just take whatever people say. But I feel like the India that is right now, people are not enjoying, or they're standing up against the India right now, is because I don't know, they're actually voicing their opinions, they're actually voicing their concerns, and people are not enjoying it because they're not used to it. And yeah, it's just weird, man, because I think the media, the geopolitics, there's a lot of double standards.
100%.
I think the German Chancellor, Prime Minister, I don't know, he said recently that the West needs to stop the double standards. If countries like India, Indonesia want to accept, or you know, if you want them to be a part of the conversation, or you want them to support you, you need to stop the double standards. Anyway, this can get real political because, you know, I've got my opinion.
That's fair, yeah.
But, yeah, I think the media portrayal and everything is because we were a poor country, so it was easy to get picked on, just like some African countries get picked on, sure, you know, because they're stigmatized, but when you actually go to those countries, they're far different than what you see on the media.
And way happier.
Way happier.
Yeah.
So, you know, instead of making a judgment, I think be more curious. That's what I would say about to the media. That's what I would say about the politics of it all.
Yeah.
It's like, don't try to make a comment. Try to really understand what's happening. And I agree with you, man. I think the culture and everything, like, we let it happen because our leadership was not strong enough
100%
to convince us that we should be proud
of where we come from.
Yeah.
That's it, man. That's really good insights. Cool. I think we'll wrap it there. Mudit, man, once again, thanks a lot for coming through, man. First episode ticked out of the way. You know, we hope you guys listened and got something out of it. Much appreciated. And yeah, that's a wrap with Real Talks with Rish. Stay tuned for a next episode dropping every Tuesday. And yeah, we'll be getting into some more great information and different perspectives from different people. Thank you.
Alright, cheers, Rishi.
Cheers, bro. That was good, bro. That was lit. Yeah, damn. That was what's up, man.